What if I told you that the battlefield of your life isn't out there? Not in your job, your bank account, or your relationships, but within your own mind? What if everything you fear, everything you desire, every triumph and failure you've ever experienced was the result of a hidden mechanism? Not fate, not luck, but inner command? This isn't just self-help rhetoric. This is the sacred architecture of your soul in action. Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet, the mystic healer, the man whose visions changed the spiritual landscape of the modern world, revealed a truth few dare to live by. You are not at the mercy of life. You are the architect of it, and the blueprints you use are drawn by your thoughts. Inner command is not about control in the traditional sense. It's not about suppressing emotions, forcing outcomes, or pretending to be strong. No, it's about mastering the alignment between your conscious intention and the deeper rhythms of your soul. It's about directing the incredible energies of your mind in harmony with the universal forces that are always working with you, or against you, depending on how you train your awareness. Cayce taught that the mind is the builder. Let that sink in. The mind is the builder, not the tool, not the bystander, not the witness. It is the force that constructs your reality brick by brick, belief by belief. And just like an untrained builder can construct a shaky, unsafe home, an undisciplined mind creates chaos, fear, and fragmentation. To train your mind is to claim your role as the conscious builder of your life. But how? It begins with awareness. Most people live their lives asleep, not physically, but spiritually. They drift through the same thoughts, the same reactions, the same unconscious patterns that were installed in them since childhood. They think they're making choices, but they're running scripts, old karmic tapes, residue from past lives, unfinished business echoing into the present. Cayce's teachings remind us that reincarnation is not just a mystical idea, it's a functional truth. Your current mind is the sum total of lifetimes. Your fears, your talents, even the people you're drawn to or repelled by are threads from previous incarnations. Inner command, therefore, isn't just about dealing with your present habits. It's about stepping into the great karmic workshop where you become the alchemist of your soul's journey. And what is the first tool of this alchemy? Thought. Not casual thoughts, not the mental noise of daily life, but intentional thought. Focused, clear, purpose-driven mental energy. Cayce emphasized that every thought you think is a force. It goes somewhere. It does something. It leaves your mind and enters the great spiritual matrix, where it gathers energy, attracts similar frequencies, and begins to mold the circumstances of your life. Most people fail at life not because they're lazy or unintelligent, but because their thoughts are scattered. One day they believe in themselves, the next they doubt. One moment they want success, the next they're afraid of what it might cost. They try to manifest love but harbor resentment. They crave freedom but fear change. This is not command. This is chaos, and chaos cannot create beauty. To command your life, you must command your thoughts. And to command your thoughts, you must discipline your inner environment with the same intensity an athlete trains their body. Meditation, according to Cayce, is not an optional luxury. It's the gym of the soul. It's where you go to silence the static, to reset the frequency, to connect with the divine intelligence that knows your true purpose. Through daily meditation, you become aware of the silent programs running your mind. You begin to catch the subtle voice of self-sabotage, the inherited beliefs, the karmic residues. And as you sit in stillness, you don't just relax, you recalibrate. You return to center. You begin to command rather than obey your inner world. But inner command is not cold control. It is intimate cooperation with your higher self. Cayce repeatedly referred to the spiritual ideal, a personal compass that aligns your thoughts, emotions, and actions with your divine destiny. Without an ideal, your inner command becomes a power without a purpose, a ship with no sail. Your ideal is the highest version of yourself, not a fantasy, but a divine potential that already exists in spirit. When you name your ideal, you give your mind a sacred reference point, Every decision, every reaction, every thought can be measured against it. Does this thought move me toward my ideal or away from it? Does this emotion empower the builder or weaken it? This is how the inner commander operates, not through brute force, but through conscious selection. And here's where it gets even more powerful. As you continue to train your inner world, purifying thought, cultivating peace, focusing your will, you begin to change your vibration. Cayce spoke of vibration as the fundamental energy of life. Everything vibrates. Your body, your emotions, your intentions. When your vibration changes, your outer reality must follow. This is not wishful thinking. This is resonance in action. High vibrations attract people, opportunities, and experiences that match them. Low vibrations repel or distort them. Inner command, then, is not about chasing life. It's about creating a vibration so coherent, so elevated, that life begins to respond to you. People call this manifestation, but Cayce would call it natural law. Like attracts like. And a trained mind, steady, clear, aligned with divine intention, becomes a magnet for miracles. But here's the truth few speak aloud. The path to inner command is not easy. It is not comfortable. It demands the death of the small self, the ego that clings to fear, anger, blame, and drama. It requires that you look directly into the eyes of your weaknesses and speak the words, "You no longer command me." And when you do this, truly do this, something ancient stirs within you, something wise, something fearless. The soul begins to lead, and the soul, as Cayce often revealed, is eternal. It knows the way. It remembers why you came here. It holds the contract you wrote before birth. And when you align your conscious mind with the soul's command, life begins to bloom in mysterious and glorious ways. You become less reactive, less afraid, less attached to the noise of the world. You begin to move with purpose, speak with clarity, choose with wisdom. This is not ego power. It is soul power. The gentle strength of someone who knows they are guided, not by impulse, but by vision. And that vision, you created it because you trained your mind. Because you remembered the truth. The battlefield is within. The power is within. The command is within. And once you claim it, you win your life. There is a sacred rhythm to the universe, a pulse that hums behind every experience, every coincidence, every challenge and breakthrough. Most people never hear it, not because it is faint, but because they are drowning in the noise of their own untrained minds. Inner command begins when you start to listen to that deeper rhythm and trust it more than the loudness of the world. Edgar Cayce often emphasized the need to develop spiritual attunement, not just knowledge, not just faith, but attunement. Like a musician who must tune their instrument before the music can be beautiful, we must tune our minds before our lives can reflect harmony. This is why the work of training your mind is not just about mental control, but spiritual resonance. Your thoughts are notes, and when they're dissonant, your life feels off-key. When they're pure and intentional, reality begins to sing in ways you've never experienced before. But this training isn't about perfection. That's a myth. Cayce never taught that enlightenment comes through flawlessness. Instead, he spoke of effort, commitment, growth, a soul walking toward its ideal, stumbling at times, learning, remembering. That is the path of true power. Not the power that controls others, but the inner power that directs self. Think about your day. How many of your thoughts are reactions? How many of them are inherited? From your parents, society, religion, trauma? Most people's minds are not theirs. They are collections, fragments, and yet they wonder why their lives feel directionless. They wonder why peace is so fleeting. The truth is, your mind is either trained by your intention or hijacked by your environment. There is no neutral. The untrained mind absorbs everything. The news, the anger of a stranger, the fear of the crowd. It becomes a sponge for energy, soaking in frequencies that are far from divine. Over time, this weakens your command. You become reactive instead of proactive. You feel scattered, tired, lost. But the trained mind, It filters, it chooses, it observes without attachment. It becomes a sanctuary. To create this sanctuary, Cayce pointed again and again to daily spiritual practices. Meditation, yes, but also something deeper, alignment with purpose. Purpose to Cayce wasn't about career or achievement. It was about becoming a channel for God's will. He taught that each soul incarnates with a unique mission, a pattern of service that allows divine energy to express itself through human experience. When you begin to live from that place, not asking, what do I want, but what does the divine seek to do through me? Everything changes. Your mind stops being a restless wanderer and becomes a willing servant to your highest nature. You don't have to force discipline. You are drawn to it because it aligns with something bigger than your ego. And that's the hidden key to inner command, surrender. Not surrender as weakness, but surrender as alignment. You are not meant to be a tyrant over your mind. You are meant to be its steward. You guide it, you nourish it, you lead it back to truth again and again until it becomes a clear mirror for the soul's wisdom. The paradox is profound. You gain power not by force, but by listening. You become strong not by resisting life, but by flowing with its deeper currents. Cayce also spoke of the superconscious mind, the highest aspect of our being that remains eternally connected to God. Most people live in the conscious mind, caught in surface-level thinking. Some dip into the subconscious, where memories and emotions live, but few ever rise to the superconscious, where true inspiration and clarity are born. Training your mind is not about staying in the conscious level. It's about building a bridge upward so that your everyday thoughts become infused with higher wisdom. And how do you do that? By stillness, by silence, by faith. In that silence, you begin to notice something extraordinary. Not all thoughts are equal. Some come from fear, some come from programming, but some, the quiet, shining ones, come from eternity. These are not thoughts in the usual sense. They are soul impressions, inner knowings, moments when time stops and the truth rises, uninvited but unmistakable. When your mind is trained, you become a receiver for these higher messages. You don't just think, you listen. And you don't just listen, you act, you follow, you trust. This is where your life begins to transform. Because now, your inner command is in harmony with the universal command. You are no longer pushing against the current. You are being carried by it. You are not demanding from life. You are dancing with it. But this alignment isn't passive. It requires choice. Cayce was clear. The mind is always building. Every thought is a seed, and every seed brings a harvest. If you think hate, you harvest suffering. If you think love, you harvest peace. The challenge is that most people want love, but think fear. They want abundance, but dwell in lack. They want joy, but feed anger. This is spiritual immaturity, and it is the cause of most suffering. To grow up spiritually is to take radical responsibility for your inner world. To no longer blame others, no longer complain about fate, no longer wait for circumstances to change. It is to look in the mirror and say, if my mind is the builder, then today I choose to build heaven. Here, now, within me. You won't get it right every day. That's okay. The soul doesn't demand perfection. It demands persistence. That's why training your mind is not a one-time event. It is a daily vow, a sacred practice, a commitment not just to personal success, but to divine service. Because when your mind is clear, your heart opens. And when your heart opens, your life becomes a vessel for healing. Not just for you, but for everyone you meet. That is the highest form of inner command. Not domination, not control, but embodiment of truth. And when you live this way, clear in mind, strong in will, aligned in spirit, you become unshakable. Life will still bring challenges, but they will no longer control you. You may feel fear, but you will not be ruled by it. You may fall, but you will rise faster. Because you know who commands your life. Not the world, not your past, not your wounds. You in communion with the sacred. You listening to the superconscious. You remembering why you came here. And in that remembering, you reclaim everything: your peace, your clarity, your purpose, your power, not because someone gave it to you, but because you trained yourself to receive it. Because you built it, brick by brick, thought by thought, in the hidden silence where the soul meets the mind, and the mind learns to obey the highest truth. This is the gift of inner command, and it belongs to you if you are willing to claim it. The journey of inner command is not about escaping life. It's about entering it more fully, with eyes wide open, with a heart that's steady, with a mind that listens for truth instead of noise. And when you walk this path, something miraculous happens. The world no longer happens to you. It happens through you. You become an instrument of divine order, no longer a victim of chaos, but a vessel of coherence. Edgar Cayce taught that every soul has within it the record of every thought, every deed, every intention, and that these records are not stored in some faraway realm, but within the soul itself, accessible through the mind. He called this the Akashic record, a living memory, a cosmic ledger. When your mind is trained, you begin to feel the threads of that record. You sense that your life is not random, that your struggles have shape, that your talents were not given by accident. You were formed for a reason, in a time, in a place, with a specific frequency, a purpose your soul chose before you even arrived here. And here's the staggering truth. The more you master your mind, the more you remember. You remember who you were. You remember why you came. You remember that every thought builds the bridge to your future. Not a future of fantasy, but of fulfillment. That is the power of inner command. It gives you access to your divine memory. It lifts the veil of amnesia, and it empowers you to stop repeating cycles that no longer serve you. Because so much of suffering isn't from life itself. It's from forgetting. Forgetting that you are more than your failures. Forgetting that pain is not punishment, but a teacher. Forgetting that you are here to grow, and growth often comes disguised as challenge. But now you know. Now you've seen the truth behind the illusion, and with that truth, a choice opens. Will you drift through the rest of your life, blown by winds you don't control? Or will you rise with quiet, disciplined courage, and begin to command the forces within? Not to dominate, not to conquer, but to co-create, to train your mind not for performance, but for presence, to choose thoughts that build, not break, to awaken each day and ask, what ideal do I serve? What light will I carry? Who must I become to fulfill the reason I was born? That is the sacred question. That is the work. And it is daily, hourly, moment by moment. There will be days you forget, days you fall. That's okay. Remember Cayce's words. Know that all strength, all hope, all faith are in him, and they are within thee if ye will but claim them. This is not a path of ego. It is a path of union. The more you command your mind, the more you align with the divine mind, the one that knows your purpose, your path, your highest possibility. And when your mind is one with that, there is nothing you cannot face. No fear too great, no setback too permanent, no wound too deep, because you now walk with awareness, and awareness is power. You are not asleep. You are not lost. You are choosing your thoughts, choosing your emotions, choosing your direction. You are training your inner instrument to hear the music of the infinite, and in that harmony, you win your life. Not as the world defines winning, but as the soul does. Peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, love over fear, purpose over survival. You are the commander. You are the gatekeeper. You are the soul in motion, remembering its truth and living it fully. Mind, heart, body, and spirit. So walk forward now. Still your thoughts. Focus your will. Open your heart and let the divine speak through you. This is your life. This is your command. And this is your time to rise.